Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today I'm participating in the Save the Crafty YouTuber video hop, and we have some sponsors, and here's all of our list of sponsors. In the description below are the links to the previous video and also the next video in the hop. And today I'm sharing with you two cards using print and cut files that I created. I also created a set of scallop frames and a scallop rectangles that coordinate together, and they're perfectly sized for 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch cards. You'll see those in the pictures. I don't show them on the video, but you'll see those in the pictures. Links to all of these files are going to be below, so you can go over to my blog and grab those. The first thing that I did after I printed everything out in Silhouette Studio, I am a Silhouette user. The first thing that I did was print these out with the registration marks on them. And don't forget to leave your file open in Studio. If you close the file, you run the risk of the images not being in the exact same place as when you printed them, and that will lead to issues when you go to cut your file after you have colored it. The other thing I did was I used some Avery removable labels and cut out the images so I could use them as masks around them, because I'm going to do some stamping on 2 of my images. First on the coffee cup, and as you saw, I messed up my mask. When I cut it, the paper moved and I sliced it off in the wrong way. So I just continued to keep it and fixed that little slice there, and then I'm just going to stick it in there. It's a mask. It's no big deal. I am going to use a Concord and 9th. It's Just Love stamp set, and I'm using a small flower and a heart with the outline in it. And the first thing that I'm going to do is stamp the hearts, the solid image of the heart in the middle of the coffee cup, which is the little wrapper that's around it. And I'm stamping that in Hero Arts bubblegum ink. Of course, all the links to the products are going to be in a link below in the description. It's a pretty long list, so I'm just using a link to all of the products used, as well as it will be over on my website, jillcameroncreations.com. I stamped off of the image that I'm going to stamp on a little bit, because I had never used this little heart before, so I just wanted to make sure I got really good coverage on my heart. Hero Arts is great ink, so I didn't really have any issues with it being splotchy or anything like that. It's a pretty heavy duty dye ink that I really like. I love their bubblegum ink. It's a really bright, pretty pink. And then I'm going to use the outline, and I'm going to use some Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink for this. It is Copic friendly, and since we're going to be doing some Copic coloring, I wanted to make sure that I was able to color over this without much problem. Now, dye inks you don't want to color over with Copic markers too much, because they will bleed. So just keep that in mind. You can kind of go over them once or twice and they're fine, but just don't go over them too many times. Sorry, my head keeps getting in the way here, but I'm lining up that outline. It's not meant to be perfect on here, but I wanted to get it as close as possible to make it look like it was a heart with an outline around it. The Avery removable labels are really sticky, so be careful when you're pulling things off so you don't rip your paper. I have fingernail polish on here, so I didn't want to get fingernail polish on my picture, on my image that I'm coloring, so I just quickly pulled that off. You can use a knife, like a craft knife, to get up under the edge of it as well. So we're going to zoom in for the rest of the video here, and I'm just doing some really quick Copic coloring. I thought that this would be really cute as a brown cup instead of a white cup, and the brown cups just kind of remind me of recycled materials and that kind of thing. And I'm using E55, E53 maybe? Nope, E51 and E50. Those are the Copic colors that I'm using. And I'm doing some really thin flick marks from the side, and I'm building my little dam there, and then I'm doing my flick marks in from the side there. And to get good thin flick marks like I have here, what you want to do is hold your Copic marker pretty straight up. It's just easier that way. If you hold it off to the side, you're going to get more of the side of the marker. But when you hold it more straight up and down with a really light touch, then you're going to get those really thin lines that you to give texture to something. And I really wanted this to have some really good deep texture to the cups. And I just started with my darkest color, working my way into the center of the cup with my lightest colors, and to give this cup a center highlight. I wasn't imagining this cup to be clear or anything like that. I wanted it to look like it had, that it was like made out of recycled materials and that kind of thing. And I need to replace the nib on this marker, which is my lightest E50 there. Anywho, when you're coloring something that has a, you know, a pretty straight line on it like this, it's a better idea to go ahead and draw that line against the edge, and it will blend out as you're coloring. So don't worry about it standing out or anything. The other thing that you'll notice throughout this video is that I move my paper a lot. You don't have to keep your paper in the same place. Turn it so that it's comfortable for your hand to move and color with. So don't be afraid to turn your paper and move it around as you need to when you're coloring. And that goes for anything that you're coloring, not just with Copic markers. You'll have less hand fatigue if you actually move the paper around to where it's in a comfortable position for your hand. And I'm a little bit out of frame here, and I'm sorry for that. I think I realize it and move it up a little bit. And my camera is like way above my head in my craft room, so I have to stop and lean back and look up to see where my whether I'm in frame or not. So sometimes you'll see me stop for a second and look up, and it's to make sure that my stuff is in frame. Now for the top and for the sleeve of the cup, because they're both going to be white, I used cool gray markers and just added a teeny touch of shadow to the edge of those. And I used a W1 for the sleeve of the cup, so it would stay in that warm family, but the top of it was going to be white, so I wanted to keep that. I didn't color over the hearts a whole lot, but you can kind of see where they started to bleed a little bit on that one over in the left hand corner, which was absolutely fine. It still looked fine. I didn't go back over it anymore. Now these are the teacups, and I cut the masks out for these as well, because on one of these I'm going to stamp, and what I do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this particular mask in half. It just wouldn't come to me. The word just eluded me. I will cut that mask in half and put it on one of the teacups, and then I'm going to take the inside of it and I'm going to trim it down so that I can get the other parts of the teacup covered up, like the saucer and the inside of the handle, and then I'm going to put some stamped flowers on it. I did get this teacup a little darker than I wanted to, but that's absolutely okay because it's a teacup, and it can be a little darker gray, it can be bright white, it can be pink if I wanted it to be. But I wanted these to kind of be whiter teacups, maybe look a little old, like a little bit of china on them, and I did leave a lot of texture on them. My mom had a set of teacups that were a play set, and I remember them having that really, it had a really dark patina on them. They were actually china teacups, and they had the cracks on the outside of them, and I played with them very gently when I was a child. And I remember her having those, and they had little pink flowers on them. And I love, that's one reason I love teacups, is because that's a really good memory for me as a kid, is playing tea. Of course, playing solitaire with my mom and playing gin rummy with my mom when the power went out was also a really good memory. And I'm kind of having all these memories here because I'm filming this and it's just after Mother's Day, and we were talking about that kind of thing the other day of what we used to do when storms were rolling in, because Mother's Day here in Lynchburg, that evening it was really stormy, and we had some big hail and wild wind and that kind of thing, but it wasn't anything bad. Anyway, back to the card. So I colored this like little round teacups, and just put some basic shading on them, nothing you know, too different than what I've done before in the past. I have another teacup video that's another digital stamp. This is a print and cut file. You can use digital stamps like you get from like Polka Doodles or any of those digital stamp companies out there. You can actually use those as print and cut files too, importing them into Silhouette Studio and tracing them and then doing an offset. You can also do that with regular stamps on a pick scan mat if you don't have the dies for them. And sometimes I don't want to get the die because, let's face it, dies can be expensive. I love supporting local companies, but sometimes the dies are expensive, and that's one way that you can get the stamps that you want and buy more stamps, but just use like a pick scan mat to take a photo of them and be able to trace and die cut them out easily and quickly. It also takes up less room in my craft room. So what I did here was something, I couldn't see the lines on my teacup to do this. I got the cup edge there, but I couldn't see where the saucer and the cup met through the mask. So I turned my flashlight on my phone and set it on top of set the paper on top of my phone. See? Ta-da! Now I can see the lines and I can just trace those out really quickly on my mask material there, which is that Avery removable, and then I can cut this out really quick and have masks so I can stamp inside of that teacup. And I use Hero Art's soft purple ink for that. And again, don't close your file when you open this in Silhouette Studio, because if you move the image around any at all on the screen, resize anything, and you close it, you're not going to be able to get it back from that state, and you'll run the risk of it not cutting properly on your silhouette. I do really like that Avery paper, because the Avery reusable labels, because the paper comes off the back of it really easily, and it's a big bang for your buck, because you can reuse those masks a couple of times. I do recommend kind of de-sticking them. I don't know if you noticed or not, when I was doing the coffee cup, I kind of put my fingers on the back of the mask a whole lot. I do recommend de-sticking it a little bit, just to make sure that it doesn't rip your paper. So just kind of keep that in mind. And here I ended up going ahead and grabbing my craft knife, because I didn't want my fingernails the red on my fingernails to get on my paper. So I grabbed my craft knife and just pulled the edge of it up there so that I could get the mask off. Now for the bottom cup, we're going to color it in the same way. However, I am going to use Arteza fine liners and make a rainbow line around the top of the cup, multiple lines around it, and I just freehand drew those to contour with the cup itself. And I color these in the same exact manner. I did use the cool markers for this just to give it a little bit different color, and you'll notice that I kind of flick from the outside in on these, and I am attempting to create that rounded look so that it's a center highlight and the edges of the cup are a little darker. And I think I did a pretty good job with it, and I don't really compliment myself that much, but I was pretty happy with these. And notice that I did a darker line around the bottom, and that's to kind of give it that underneath look, but the feet are sticking out on the cup a little bit. So I was really happy with how this card turned out. The sentiments are included with the teacups and with the coffee, and the tea says tea is better with a friend, and coffee says but first coffee. And I included them in black, and I went ahead and did them in black, and the outline is in the offset for the outline is included in the file as well. So you get two teacups and the sentiment, and then a coffee cup and the sentiment. And then in the finished cards you will see the scalloped backgrounds, and I have two files of those as well. One is frames and the other is rectangles, and they coordinate beautifully together, so you could use those and stack them up. Absolutely adorable. So those are going to be over on my blog, and I'll have links to those below. While I finish coloring up this card here for the cups, let's talk about the Save the Crafty YouTuber video hop. It's once or twice a year. It just depends on when Justine Hovey wants to put it on, because it's a lot of work for her. So I want to thank Justine for including me in the video hop. And it's a multitude of crafters that are paper crafters, card makers, mixed media artists and such that get together and promote each other in a very positive manner. And this is to help with monetization of YouTube videos, and also to get our name out there. And everybody has very different styles. Everybody likes different things. Everybody wants to learn something different. And every crafter has their own voice and their own take on any products out there. So that's one reason why we get together and do this. And I want to thank our sponsors as well. All of the information is going to be linked below in the description. And be sure to subscribe to enter to win different prizes throughout the video hop. You don't have to subscribe, but you do need to comment in order to be eligible to win any of the prizes that are available in the video hop. And the more times that you comment, the more chances that you have to win something. So just comment below, and then we'll be drawing, Justine will be drawing names for the winners in the next week or so. All of that information is going to be over on Justine's blog, so her information is going to be linked below too. Here's where I'm using the Arteza fine liner pens, which I love, 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 love. And now we're going to take a look at the finished cards real quick. Hit subscribe, hit the little bell up top to subscribe so you are notified each and every time I have a video that comes out. And head over to my blog so you can pick up your teacups and coffee cups, and also your scalloped files. Thanks so much for joining me today. Have an amazing day.